It was a beautiful southern mansion that, like so many in Louisiana, now functioned as a luxurious bed and breakfast. The housekeeper showed me my suite for the night. It was a tremendous king-size bed, smothered in a pile of pillows and more lace and satin than a royal christening. "You'll be staying alone in the house," the housekeeper added. "There are no other guests tonight. As long as you say it's not haunted." I joked, "No, it's not haunted." She reassured me, "Oh, there are stories. But nobody ever has seen anything." She paused. "I've never seen anything. I've asked her to tell me more about the stories." And out of the housekeeper's mouth tumbled one grade A Southern ghost story. Apparently, the Cajun family who had once owned the house reported seeing a ghost of a little girl who, when she lived alive, used to get locked up in the wooden closet under the stairs. Trapped in the dark, she would scream and kick against the door, a habit that she carried on into the next life. Despite closing the door every night, the Cajun family would always find it wide open in the morning. Eventually, they began leaving the toys inside the closet at night to appease the unhappy little ghost. Last year, we had a Halloween party in the house. Guess what my costume was? She said suddenly, cheerfully again. "I dressed up as a little girl from under the stairs." I think I could have handled just about anything if the housekeeper had told me that someone had hanged themselves in the foyer, or the mansion was under some swamp curse, or that it was built on top of an old French cemetery. But no, instead she was describing a bothered little girl ghost trapped in a closet with an armful of old-fashioned toys. Now that was creepy. "Oh, you're gonna hear things tonight." "You will," she laughed, ha 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 ha, nervously. And then she left. I was now in the home all alone. It was evening. A few lights have been left on in some of the rooms, and I did not feel the need to start walking around the huge house to turn them off. That's when I felt that dreadful sensation of being watched. I felt coldness on the back of my neck, and my spine tingled. I stared at my face in the mirror, but there was nothing else there. No apparitions or vague reflections. Certain that I was simply scaring myself, sat down at the table, opened my laptop, and began answering the email. I was a quarter till 11, and the glow from my computer pulled me away from any fears and kept me focused on the mundane realities of our digital lives. At 11 o'clock, the noises started. Shh, shh. A pair of feet shuffled across the bathroom floor. I turned towards the door. It had just closed. It was still closed, the only entrance into that room. The noise repeated itself, a pair of feet shuffling across the floor. Then stomping right on the other side of the bathroom door. My fingers froze on the keyboard, and I tried to think rationally. My mind went through all the things that might be making the noise. Someone else entered the home. Some very large wild animal scurrying around about, but no. Those had been feet pattering along the floor. And then I crawled into the giant bed and took my defensive position, armed pitifully with my cell phone and my laptop. At midnight, I heard a loud thump downstairs. Then another, followed by another. Soon there was clattering. All about that smoke getting me from the campfire. All about dull thuds. A few bangs, followed by the sound of someone walking around the second floor. I remained frozen in my bed, tweeting my terror out to the great digital cloud. There are strange noises coming from the upstairs. Yes, I was terrified. I hadn't taken the housekeeper seriously, and now it was nearly midnight, and I was stuck in a giant bed in a giant mansion, and that had suddenly come alive with strange noises. No, they were not simply old house noises that old houses make. There was no air conditioning, no heat running. It was just simply the humid air turning cooler and the house settling back to its foundation. As my Twitter followers tried to explain to me, a few minutes later I heard the sound of someone running down the stairs. Whatever it was had joined me on the first floor. I stared at the bedroom door, then reverted to Facebook. I chatted with friends in different countries, explaining my dilemma that I was wide awake in a house that was most likely haunted by a traumatized little girl, and that honestly this was the kind of adventure of which I'd be happy to pass on. Eventually the footsteps went back upstairs and the clattering intensified. Wanted to laugh, but I couldn't as I read my Twitter friends arguing about existence of ghosts, all while I was listening to what sounded like bowling balls rolling around on the floor. Above me, the doors were slamming shut. Via social media, I began to get a flood of real-time advice on how to deal with my real-time haunting. Some said, confront the thing. Others said to call the police and report the intruder. Some said to pray to St. Michael, and others said St. Joseph would better with this sort of thing. The Hindus in India said to burn incense. My friend, who's a nun, told me to leave the house immediately. Eventually, my body grew so tired that I laid down, wrapped up like a mummy in blankets. The house became silent once more, and for several hours I listened to the quiet. Still terrified, but hopefully the worst was over. All I had to do was make it till morning. I awoke at around 4 a.m. to the sound of crystal glasses clinking against crystal. Then someone was stacking dishes or china. I thought of the Cajun family who had lived here, how they appeased the ghost with toys. I had no toys to offer. The only thing I had was my bag. Was a small little harmonica that I had recently purchased. For a second I was relieved, as I had something positive to offer the ghost. But then I realized that if I suddenly heard the harmonica playing in the darkness, I would probably die of cardiac arrest. And so I stayed in bed until morning, not sleeping, not moving, waited until I heard the housekeeper arrive and begin preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Only then did I crawl out of bed. The housekeeper acted nonchalant. She gave me some food and chatted about the weather outside until I finally interrupted. I told her what had happened, all the different sounds I had heard, and how I had kept awake for most of the night. You know, my son won't even set foot in this house, she confessed. He'll come to the door, but he won't ever cross into it. As a teenager, he played with the owner's son inside the house and had one creepy experience that he still won't discuss. And that has kept him away ever since. The housekeeper also told me about her little niece talking alone upstairs, chatting with some unseen friend. And yet, she would never admit that she had any proof of anything. She needed the house not to be haunted, which made sense to me. If I worked all day in a big old southern mansion, I would not want it to be haunted either. End of the story. Well, that's the end of that campfire story, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Now all you got to do is figure out if it's true or false or not. Alright guys, I'm sure you guys have been thinking a long time. Is he telling the truth, or is he telling us another one of them fantastic John Long untrue stories? Well, hate to tell you, but this is a true story.